Okay, so I'm starting this video by saying that I'm really not even ready to do this video, honestly. Um, I'm antsy. I'm a little antsy. There's all this stuff. It's actually I mean, it's exciting. It's fun. So I'm a little antsy. I'm a little anxious. A little upset because of how all this stuff went. But here we go. So just a couple things. So this video is called "Start to Unpack Daniel." Daniel is this amazing young man in the Bible, and inside of Daniel is the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He's actually kind of somehow like strangely in there. It looks like he might be somehow responsible. Daniel is a little bit responsible for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and God saves them all in an incredible way. He's the great Daniel in the lion's den. Daniel talks about gods and gods, the gods of this and that. He only believes in one God. He believes in the God of heaven. I believe in the God of creation and the God of design. And Daniel believes in the God of heaven. And then even heaven is even like heaven really is this concept that was like, whoa, like, I mean, everybody was thrown off by the garden, dude. Everybody was thrown off by the garden. But that Jesus saves all that stuff, but it's almost like this, there's almost this other part of it that is like ambiguous, kind of. It's kind of ambiguous that the God of creation designed Jesus to need time travel, to need the invention of time travel, to need a time travel party for him to really, 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 really do what he was supposed to do, which was save everybody after he was born. After they had seen him, after they heard his message, after they were able to touch him and get his message at all. Nobody got his message before he was born. So of just the God of fairness and the God of justice and the God of creation and in design, that his design required time travel. It's ambiguous to me. I don't really know. I don't really know. It seems like God really, really, really wants my Mars beginning. And then basically Matthew 22, where to go? Matthew 24, 22, 3. Matthew 24, 23. I'll probably copy and paste this one. Is that Matthew 24, 23 in like the new international version? It says, at that time, which is he's talking about. If Matthew 24 is all about the destruction of the temple and the signs of the end, the signs of the end of times. And Matthew 24, 23, which is within that chapter, says that at that time, if anyone says to you, look, here is the Messiah, or there he is, don't believe it. And then what you can know is that God is so true and just. Jesus, guy, dude. Uh, I don't get that guy, dude. Uh, there's one guy in here I do not get. He has tantrums. Uh, but anyway, so yeah, so the let me find my cable here. Yeah, no, you gotta just build your way. You gotta fix it. You gotta fight and fix it. That's what it seems like. I can rely on that pretty good. This the Mars beginning. It's pretty good. Where's my? This guy has tantrums, dude. This guy has some nasty tantrums. Just like he like explodes with tantrums. He's just like holding back tantrums all day. That's how I feel with a lot of this stuff. But the thing is that, and then here we go, is that unpacking Daniel. It's actually a good thing to be doing here. So we started with Matthew 24:23, and Matthew 24:23 says that by unpacking Daniel, I start with Matthew 24:23, which just says that, you know, or first of all. Let me just see if I can really quick find it. Yeah, yeah. Uh, okay, so oh, there we go. So 36. So verse 36. Okay, Matthew 24:36. I'll say it will be loud and straight and clear, loud and clear. There we go. So, yeah. So, okay. So, a couple things. So, just a few things while I get started. It's just going to be another long video, but it's okay. Everyone ends up hearing the information, I guess. Like, somehow is like all the information is, I mean, it's right here on my YouTube. And people are watching my YouTube. People are watching my YouTube and my Twitter. People are monitoring my Twitter and my YouTube. I almost went to jail for something because of something I said on Twitter. That's how literally how people were watching it. Is that I almost went to jail. I almost went to jail for something I said on Twitter. So is like people are watching my Twitter. It's not a huge amount, but it's a critical amount. So I know that my words are being heard because I'm throwing critical information onto a critical thread, and critical responses are happening. Critical responses are happening. People are responding, and they're saying is that I don't understand, blah blah blah. Like this guy here with the tantrums. Some people instead of throwing tantrums, dude, is some people get quiet and they think. And then they think and they muse, and they may even do this thing called in like mental illness terms. It's I don't know. It's the whatever the word is for when you ruminate. Ruminate. Some people ruminate, which is like thinking in your mind, pacing in your mind. Is like ruminating is like the pacing in your mind, back and forth. And some people, who are really struggling, ruminate really really hardcore. And sometimes when you're ruminating, sometimes the gravity of your information is just not going to hit. It's just not going to work right, because you're out there ruminating and everybody else is living their own normal lives. So your pace, can get thrown off when you're out there ruminating just a little bit too much and holding on to everything a little bit too tight. Sometimes you gotta just let go of things a little bit. Sometimes a healthy grip is a nice loose grip, like in baseball. Holding a baseball bat is your likelihood of getting a hit or even a walk. With your grip too tight is low. Your likelihood of getting on base when your grip is too tight is low. You're too tense. You're too tense, and you need to loosen up. And the best grip is a loose grip. Is a balanced grip between tightness and looseness, but it has a little bit of looseness in it, just like the ball stretching around the bat. is that the ball itself has tension as flexible tension. The hide all has flexible tension. The thread all has flexible tension. The bat does not. The bat has small flexible tension. Uh, but anyway, so and then another thing I was gonna say was just like I rabbit trail a lot, but what is going on is there's so much to talk about. Is if you're able to catch the stuff I'm able to say and then reorganize in your head, uh, that's how we can communicate really well. So if you just go with me on my rabbit trails and then let go with me as I let go, we can follow along this way. You'll get all the information. It might just be a little bit. It might just be basically exactly when I thought it was prevalent to start talking about it and rabbit trailing. So I promise not to try not to go too far. But as if you can rabbit trail with me, when I say something that's like something else or meta, we'll keep tracking. We'll gain meta points and all that stuff, and we'll keep going. And then my words like as a brand new teacher and all this stuff will be like this. And then and I start by praying. Just pray, just Lord, bless my words, bless my heart, bless my intentions, bless my audience. Um, amen. So we got all this stuff to talk about. So unpacking Daniel, dude. Daniel is interesting. Ezekiel's boring. Ezekiel's boring, and I can tell you exactly what Ezekiel is about. Ezekiel's not even crazy. Ezekiel's not even crazy, and he's called capital S Son of Man. I think that's what it seems like is going on. I can't. Maybe I was mixing up the words a little bit, but I can still tell you what is the vast bulk of Ezekiel is God talking to his beloved Israelites. God talking to his beloved Israelites, and I know that it's like Ezekiel is a story about how God's beloved Israelites run into Eric Andersen, who was Jewish, a little bit, and he lived in America, which was great. And Revelation is a story about how the Antichrist bumps into Eric Andersen in America, and how America bumps into the Antichrist and Eric Andersen. So I'll say that again. So Ezekiel is a story. Maybe I'll even write it down. Ezekiel is a story about. Maybe I won't write it down. Maybe I'll just say it. But basically, Ezekiel. Yeah, it's good. Ezekiel is a story about the nation, the beloved nation of Israel, bumping into Eric Andersen, the time-traveling Potluck Mars Beginning President of the United States of America. Revelation is a story about the Antichrist. Is a story about America. Is a story about America awakening to this story about how the Antichrist bumped into Eric Andersen, the time-traveling Potluck Mars Beginning President of the United States of America. Full mind, body, spirit, medical science. medicine, and science. Okay. So I'll say that one more time. So I put it in here. I said Ezekiel is a story about the beloved nation of Israel bumping into Eric Andersen. And he is the time-traveling Potluck Mars Beginning President on those CloneyDrone figures that you see from World War II that are still mysteriously evading the CIA and the NSA and CERN. All three. And I wrote messages about this. And they turned to Christ. And they turned to Christ. There she is. Or eat human dung. Revelation is a story about America awakening to the story of the Antichrist bumping, about how the Antichrist bumped into Eric Andersen, the time-traveling Potluck Mars Beginning President of the United States of America. Full mind, body, spirit, medicine, and science. It was about how they are both about how much a time traveling Captain Planet / Captain America, about how much a time traveling Captain Planet can see in the world. And even this is just like, I mean, I don't have to move my head either. I just know everything that is freaking here and everything that is going on. There are no more apocalypse left. That's the point. So let's get started. So I explained the two apocalypse stories, Ezekiel and Revelation. Everyone gets saved. Everyone gets saved. But there is one guy who just above them all is like, he can go. I don't. All this stuff starts now. I don't. He's going so far and above and beyond in his own personal direction that I just don't think anybody has it left in them to follow this guy. If they've been following him for more than a week, is that they've been following him your time following this guy must expire. He himself is the only. I mean, he himself runs. He operates only for himself. And all this stuff, and the stuff that he wants, I mean, I have to wonder if it's even possible for him to even get it, because it always becomes my problem. All of his business all becomes my problem all day long, dude. His business becomes my problem all day long. It's incredible. So let's start opening up basically like why you want to watch this video. Is because this is a story. This is one congruent story. The Ezekiel and Revelation and Daniel all connect one congruent story. And for the life of me, I mean, I'll tell you that like it's either between it is or it is, and it either is or it is. That also is a story about a four-way dream. Just very honestly and clearly, a four-way dream. And I'll try to actually be really kind of careful here, but I gotta kind of break this apart here too. This is part of what happens. Is like God promises me that what I'm saying right now makes the news, and the news is about this four-way dream. And so it's like, if there is one thing that I wanted to say about the news and this four-way dream, I mean, it's that I think, it's just that, like, what a tangled web we weave. We first, when we first, set out to deceive. Like I said, like God promised me, I think that basically, I mean, probably this video right here was going to make the news. Because it's when you notice that Daniel connects to Revelation 13. Revelation 13 and Revelation 4 connect to Ezekiel. And I want to even say that there might be even another... No, it's that Daniel 7 connects to Revelation 13. Revelation 4 connects to Ezekiel 1. So Daniel connects to Revelation, which connects to Ezekiel, but in kind of a different chain. And I kind of put the chain here. It's like, I'm pretty sure it goes like this because of stuff. Ezekiel 1 and Ezekiel 10. Cherubim. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. So let's start to unpack this. So before we unpack Daniel, first thing you got to notice is that, like, I'm a citizen of the United States. I'm running for president. And everything that I do is square merit. Everything that I do, I made it. I mean, I took it from the Bible and I did it. And I took it from the Bible and I did it because Matthew 24:36 says that no one knows the day or the hour of the end. If I feel like it's the end, I mean, absolutely right, every day. It feels like the end of time every day with all these people doing all this stuff, with all this attention that I'm actually getting and all this stuff. It feels like the end of time. It feels like the end of the world every day that somehow this much corruption can actually itself squirt off. But it's not. Is that like somehow it's like God showed me through the scripture that, I mean, it's just it's just itself is just not the end. It's through so much coincidence in scripture is like I've been dealing with stuff for 8 years, and it is like at this, I mean, and then I just sent out a flare, and that flare that dropped on the ground. That flare dropped on the ground, which it's kind of impossible. I threw out a flare, and the flare completely dropped on the ground. That was like my binary test, was that, like, if something kind of explosive happens, that would have been, basically what I would have been expecting for, like the situation I was in was I made kind of an explosive material, which was that Pall Mall and stuff. I made kind of explosive material. Nothing exploded. And and that was during the George Floyd, and we are at war. And some people have the whereabouts to recognize that we are at war. Some people don't. I mean, we're even at. I mean, George Soros, I think, is even at war. And then George Soros is who George Soros is, and you know who Vladimir Putin is. You all have heard of Vladimir Putin. George Soros is probably one of these great kings of the earth that the Bible does talk about. The Bible talks about these kings of the earth, and in Daniel 7. So getting into the just rabbit trail. So getting into the rabbit trail here, and then getting through Daniel 7 is that there, Daniel 7 talks about this, the Antichrist. You see the exact same guy, the exact same 10 horns, exact same stuff. That's the Antichrist right there in Daniel 7. And Daniel 7 and Daniel 13 are just alike. There's the Antichrist there again, but he's got a mortal wound. And here's the Antichrist and his first mention, Daniel 7. Daniel 7 is first, I think probably his first mention in Daniel. Probably not even a mention of the Antichrist before Daniel. And Ezekiel is before Daniel in the canon. But it's just, that Daniel came way before Revelation. Daniel was way before Revelation, and Daniel was way back there. One of the things to say about Daniel is that he didn't have he had no blemish in his body. Kind of funny. But Daniel 7 and Daniel 13, that describes the same old abomination and that causes desolation. And then, these abominations, these again, I think when you're talking abominations, I think what you're talking about is grandfather paradox people. People that are just like, screw the Potluck Mars Beginning. I'm a grandfather paradox god myself. And then I found the end of the grandfather paradox, like Eric Andersen said, is that you can beat the grandfather paradox, I guess, because I don't know. You can't. It's that you can. It's like somehow it's like you can, but your origin always has to come from some kind of sequence. But the thing is like if you put in enough stuff, that's like, here, I was my own creator. I was my own creator. Worship me. It's just that you'll notice is that like you just would have never you probably would have never defeated your own remorse for getting lost that deeply, that you lost everything and everybody just trying to become your own abominable creator god, and like just like trying to use time travel to do this one thing that is the grandfather paradox does not disprove time travel. Actually, what the grandfather paradox does is it proves it proves how deeply rooted your genetics are to your own fabric of reality, is what it does do. And if you don't believe me, that's fine. I don't care. It's that time travel is about to start working, and you are about to start noticing that I was right. Is that time travel is about to start working. Okay, now how do I use it? Well, I can go on. I can do anything I want. I can change anything I want. I can become my own dad. I can become my own creator. I can do all this. I can live in the mountain of the gods, by having been my own creator. And really, it's just what it is like you are yourself. You are suffering from extreme denial. You're suffering from extreme denial of the truth. And what you're suffering from, and then Daniel 7 connects to Revelation 4 in this way. That is that the young beast, the Antichrist. Daniel 8 describes like more dreams than Daniel 8 on. I was only probably going to talk about Daniel 7. And then I talked a little bit about Daniel 1 through 7. So Daniel is this amazing young guy, and he's picked by the king. He's picked by King Nebuchadnezzar to work in his fields. And it's actually amazing that we're talking about this, because it's so important to this, is that he's this young king. He was picked. Daniel was picked by the king's courts to serve in this like 3-year kind of like interim kind of like thing, but where they pick like 3 great people to help out the king and like do some kingly order stuff. Kind of like what I used to do in my high school, was like they pick out some people and they help out with like events and stuff like that, and then they're smart and they're good and they're all the stuff, they help out the king. And then here's Daniel, and the king is like, okay, I got this terrible nightmare. Someone explain it to me. And Daniel's like, well, what is it? And he's like, well, I don't want to be tricked, so you got to tell me what my dream is. And then then you tell me what my dream is, and then you tell me how to fix it, young Daniel and other people. And Daniel says, okay, whatever, but you know what is what you're asking me is very difficult, because what you're asking me, no one can know but God. And that's actually, and then again, there's Daniel's actual first mention of actually the spiritual, the mechanics of the mind. And I should put this in here as I'll find it. I'll put it in there. But that's a take at the first that's the first take at the spiritual mechanics of the mind, which is huge in what I'm talking about, and not just huge in what I'm talking about. It's huge for some of these topics that, like abortion, a fetus that has neural firing in the mind, has a spirit. If the neurons are firing in the mind, it is because its spirit is turned on. And a heartbeat. If it has a heartbeat and neurons firing, it has a spirit. Because the spirit is created from the neurons, from the mind, from the heart, from the DNA. The spirit is created somehow magically from the DNA. And the signs of the spirit working would be neural firings and a heartbeat. And your spirit is this all complex mechanical thing. All complex mechanical thing that you get your own. And it's a will, and it's a will energy and will drive, and you can think, and it's smart, and you can think, and you can make decisions, and you can choose, and you can control. So Daniel 7. Oh, here's Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Yeah. Let me see this part up here. You receive from me gifts and rewards. Let the king tell his dreams. Then the king answered, I am certain that you are trying to gain time. Oh, it says right here, the astrologers answered the king, there is no one on earth who can do what the king asks. No king, however great and mighty, has ever asked such a thing of any magician or enhancer or astrologer. What the king asks is too difficult. No one can reveal it to the king except the gods, and they do not live amongst humans. And that's what the astrologers were saying. So it's maybe 1 Corinthians 2:11 is still works. But the astrologers, and the astrologers, not even just Daniel, but the astrologers answered is that said, no one can know this guy's dreams. No one can know the king's dreams but the king and God. Just like Paul says is in 1 Corinthians 2:11 is that no one can know the thoughts of a man except for himself and God. And then, you know what, but like even more specifically, Paul says his own spirit. No one can know the thoughts of a man but his own spirit, which is not even physical. You can't see your spirit, but your spirit is actually all around you. You are yourself, you are bathed, your spirit is all around, connecting all pieces of you. And spirituality is connecting all these pieces of you every day. I have to think that somehow the pieces that connected to you are like your spirit. and that your smart spirit controls your spiritual body, and that's your spirit. And maybe that's how it is that you have to take your spirit. You have to take control of your body and things like that. But it's just that your body has all this stuff controlling all of it every day. And it has metaphysical connectors, the neurons, metaphysical connectors to your brain and your brain spirit right there. So maybe I still have yet to like completely fully understand this stuff, but I think it's about how nobody in the world is anywhere near this stuff. And it's clear as day, really, if you understand this one verse, it's clear as day is that the God says that is, and then God even does say it even before even Paul. But I would say that somehow the first mention of it really is like, well, the first mention of it is here, but like the first great mention of it is with Paul. Because this is about this, what the astrologers are saying here is that, you know, the astrologers say no one on earth can do this stuff, but the gods, which is what know someone else's thoughts or dreams. And now getting to that is that here are two great mentions, one in Daniel and one in Corinthians with Paul. That is that no one can know the thoughts of a man but his spirit. And I am here telling you, Eric Andersen will be the first one to tell you, is that is not to say that you cannot give people dreams and share dreams. That is part of the spiritual application, is that you can do that. So that is not to say that sharing dreams is impossible. But what you can know is that no one was doing that stuff before me. That is some great and high and mighty stuff, is that brain stuff. And then Tesla is in second place with his Neuralink for figuring out exactly how the brain exactly works. But the thing is if Tesla denies the spirit, which he will, because the spirit is so much more fun and adapt and applicable and fun than Neuralink, where you can upload your thoughts to the internet and have easy access to the internet. That is so ridiculous. It's about having easy access to the internet, not mechanisms. So long as your brain can so long as your brain can move your mechanism, is that we can give you a prosthetic that'll work, that'll reconnect back to your mind. You have reproductive cells, you have reproductive stuff all day. But it's not even just that, is that like if you have nerve endings that can feel at the end of your stump, is that you have nerve endings to connect to the end of your arm. You don't need to do those connections. You don't need to get a surgery in your brain to do connections that you can connect. I mean, get a surgery to connect to your arm, not your brain. They want to take your brain and put it on the internet. They want to take your mind and put it on the internet. That's what they want to do. Don't let them do that. Just let them, give them what is realistic, which is a better arm, or better leg, or better ear, or better nose, or whatever. I don't know. It seems like nose would be catastrophic. But reconstructive stuff all day, but just like stay out of the brain. So getting to this stuff is that now I said all this stuff. So now the people that, is like, it's always really important that they end up hearing this stuff. And one of them is just, Pearl, dude. It's Pearl. There's Truman, there's Pearl. And then there's the Supple Leopard. There's Truman, Pearl, and Supple Leopard. And like I was saying at the beginning of this video, this is about like 3 dreams. 3 dreams. And I'll go ahead and just start talking about it because this is what happened. It doesn't have that much power over me, honestly. It's just a dream. But the thing is, like, the dream, who is it from? Well, it's probably from God. So let's start opening this up. So Daniel 7 starts right after Daniel just got like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego out of trouble and stuff. And about interpreting the king's dreams in Daniel 2. So I'll even just say Daniel 2 king's dreams. Daniel 2, King's Dreams. Daniel 7, Antichrist. Daniel 7, Antichrist. Revelation 13, Antichrist. Revelation 4 is 4 living creatures and my CloneyDrone. Post CloneyDrone. Post CloneyDrone. And then Ezekiel 1, which is 4 living creatures. And then where I mean, at least Wikipedia, where Wikipedia says that those 4 living creatures belong is with the cherubim, which is quite, that is amazing. That's, I mean, that was kind of what I was and I think what it is like what ends up getting solidified is Ezekiel 10. It talks about how my CloneyDrone, I'll even say CloneyDrone, makes cherubim. CloneyDrone makes, you know, makes CloneyDrone freaking you know, makes it to cherubim. Yeah, CloneyDrone. It's just like God, and then what ends up happening is that's just a technology. It's just a piece of technology that it itself was. It was practically eternal, eternal technology that was going to stand the test of time. And it's called I've been calling it CloneyDrone, and the Nazis think they're Foo Fighters. Nazis think they're Foo Fighters. I just call it CloneyDrone because it can tell you if you're a clone or not. And it's a drone, and it's a time machine, and it's got my nasty boy cameras set up and all that stuff. And it can maintain democracy and order, and do that on artificial intelligence. You can actually make it work with your mind. And that was another thing mine will do, is that it will be. Oh, let me stop this video and let me redo this video.